Howdy, my name is Raymond Arturo Perez, and this is a late night edition of me going live. These last 5 days I've been going live, covering different aspects of my journey as a writer out in Los Angeles. And today, right before midnight, I'm covering the writing process. And so I wanted to kind of go over the kind of thinking I go through before I decide I'm going to commit to a story, and I'm going to follow through until that script is at a good enough spot to send to other eyeballs outside of mine and my little circle. So writing is a lot of work. If you're not getting paid for it, it makes it even that more important to recognize, like, okay, I'm going to commit my time to this. Like, there may not be a payout. The script might not sell. And so, time is scarce, and your free time is really important. And so I think for me, to really see like a project through, first and foremost, I don't try to just like go for the shiny object. I kind of try to wait and let it linger. Like, if something has kind of been in my pocket for a while and I'm like, oh, that seems like a great idea, then I go like, okay, like, what about it? Is it like a character? Is it a world? Is it a concept? Is there a question I don't know the answer to? Is it, loosely based off an experience that I've had, that I now have more insight now that time has passed? I just kind of let it marinate, and I've recognized over the years that if something keeps tugging at my imagination or my mind, then it's probably something that I really care about, even if I don't fully understand what the story is going to eventually say. The elements might be something that's really attracting me, that I want to spend time with, because writing is not just getting the first draft out. Writing is continuously rewriting and editing and getting notes and having to start maybe from page 1 or go back to outline. And so I think that's kind of the beginning parts of like my writing process is ideation, letting inspiration come from anything, and then just being very intentional about the kinds of stories that I decide to pursue. Once I've committed to a project, I do something that one of my professors at AFI used to have us do. My professor, Michael Urban, he would kind of get us to come up with comps for the project that we're about to work on. But the comps weren't just like, it's, Good Will Hunting meets The Conjuring. It's not just like a marketing ploy. It's more so like a reference guide. So, for example, he might ask you to come up with a reference for tone. He might ask you to come up with a reference for genre, a reference for structure. So, for example, I wrote a horror film called The Book of Daniel, and it's about a college-aged man who gets engaged to his sweetheart, and they live in Seguin, Texas, and basically on the eve of their wedding, he starts to have these sleep paralysis, like demons haunt him, and he starts to wonder if it's potentially his next door neighbor who's responsible for all of this. And so we track his logic to the point that he's like, I need to get rid of this evil and I need to kill my neighbor. And that could be a comedy, that could be a drama, that could be a horror film, that could be, that could go any which way, which is why it's so important, your point of view and your voice and all these things that make each writer their own thing, So what I would do with the Book of Daniel, for example, is I try to find a film that really captures the tone that I'm trying to capture in my own project. So like the film Talk to Me would be like a good comparison, because it deals with college-age students. It's grounded. It's a horror film. It's super intense. It has like really big scares. The film deals with demons, but in a kind of vampire way. So I might pick like a vampire film as a sort of genre. The demons kind of turn folks into demons in this world, in the rules of this world that I'm creating. So like a vampire film might be a good genre to like lean on. And then structure wise, there's some big kills throughout the script. And the structure of it, I like Scream as like my basis. So that might be something that I go to for structure. And then lastly, some other references that you might consider are like certain elements of the film, or like how does the writing read? So for me, there's just kind of a duality of the main character, and it makes me think of Black Swan. So that might be like another script where like the writing of Black Swan, the reading of Black Swan might be a good comparison for me as I continue to develop the story. And so after I've done all that, then I go to me, the most difficult part of writing, which is an outline. And one of the other things that was hammered to us at AFI is like outline means everything. Like Michael Urban would not let you go to script until you had a very, very solid, very specific, very fleshed out outline. And I'm talking like if the script is 90 pages, the outline might be 18 to 25 pages. And the importance of that is basically like, before you get excited and just start word vomiting, which is part of people's process and totally fine, Michael Urban wants you to follow the like emotional logic of your character and have like the A version down in the outline. Like everything makes sense. Like that might not be like in your version when you start writing it, you might not go to the fair. You might end up going to Coachella or something crazy, right? Like the actual direction that you take your characters might change, but the emotional point that you hit is going to be the same. And so what I love about that is it like becomes like a skeleton of your project, and it grounds you in like, if all else fails, I'll just go back to the outline, the A version, and I'll at least have a complete script. And like my character's logic will make sense. But what's really great is if you have a 25-page outline and that thing is like covering the A version, then you can just like let your imagination run wild, have fun. And so for me, like with that, what I've gotten into the habit of doing is staying in outline until I have a good A version. And I know that I like set myself up for success because by the time I get 2 pages, I can write that baby in like a couple days because the outline is so good. So for me, that's like how I go about my writing process. At AFI, we really hit on the 9 story beats. Some people say 8 story beats. Some people call it something completely different, but it's the same thing you've heard. There's a beginning, middle, end. There's these 9 story beats that turn the journey of your main character. You know, people have their own pluses and minuses of Save the Cat and the hero's journey and this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, whether the lingo or vocabulary that we're using is tomato or tomato, it's still the same. It's still beginning, middle, end. I really love the 9 story beats because you can really kind of carve out into the 3-act structure, with your climax and your break into act 2 and your all is lost. Like all of those they're very familiar words because they are often used in the industry, because it's very easy to understand because we have a common language to talk about story. So I highly, highly encourage you, if you've never read any sort of writing book, writing process, the craft of writing. Honestly, like Save the Cat is a good starter. It's a good intro. You're not about to spend $120,000 in a graduate school program. You're still going to get the 9 story beats that I used, and it'll at least give you a solid framework from which to build on. But really, truly, as I wrap this up for tonight, I just want to say, read the scripts of movies you love, because if the movie was really great, you should know what was on the script to get it there. And like anything, whether you're a musician, whether you're a painter, whether you're, on and on and on and on, look at the stuff that moves you, mimic that, and then find who you are in your own right. That pretty much covers my writing process in like a quick nutshell. I will continue to be going on lives until I hit 31 days. If you want to know what project I'm working on currently, I have a link in my bio. It's a short film written and directed by Amro Helmi. It's called Where We Will Be Tomorrow, and it's about one of the first breakups we might have in our lives, which is with our best friend. I am so thankful for those who've been watching the lives, and more importantly, watching the post of the lives later. Shout out to my sister. I appreciate you watching. And yeah, boa noite.